June 28, 1914, a warm morning in Sarajevo. Archduke Franz Ferdinand sits in the back of an open car, smiling politely. He doesn't know it yet, but this is his final drive. Franz Ferdinand was heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his visit to Bosnia was meant to show imperial strength, but tensions were boiling. Serbian nationalists wanted the empire gone, and a secret group called the Black Hand was ready to act. That morning, 6 assassins lined the motorcade route, nervous, young, each holding a bomb or pistol. The first few attackers failed. One bomb bounced off the car and exploded behind it. Franz Ferdinand continued the visit, surprisingly calm. He insisted on visiting the wounded in hospital, but no one told the driver the route had changed. As the car slowed to reverse, one assassin happened to be standing nearby, Gavrila Princip. 2 shots. Franz Ferdinand was hit in the neck, his wife Sophie in the stomach. They both died within minutes. In a car that had just stalled. News of the assassination spread fast. Within weeks, Europe spiraled into war. Austria blamed Serbia. Alliances snapped into action, like dominoes with bayonets. What began as a local grievance would pull 30 countries into a global nightmare, all because one royal ignored security advice and took the wrong turn. By the end of World War I, over 16 million lives were lost. And it all began with a single moment outside a bakery, a boy with a pistol and a stalled engine. This was the assassination that shook the 20th century, a bullet that shattered empires. It's Rome, 44 BCE. You're walking through the Forum. The marble glows warm in the sunlight, and a name echoes through every column: Caesar. Julius Caesar wasn't an emperor, not yet, but he held more power than any man should. Dictator for life, popular, feared. The Senate didn't like that. They remembered the old days when Rome was a republic, not ruled by one man. So they made a plan, not to vote, not to argue, but to stab. March 15th, the Ides. Caesar walks into the Senate, calm, confident. He never walks out. 23 wounds, even Brutus. Et tu? But killing Caesar didn't bring back the republic, it brought chaos. Civil war burned across the republic. And when the ashes settled, there stood Augustus, the first emperor. The irony? By trying to stop one-man rule, they created it. Caesar's death didn't save democracy, it marked the end of it. April 1865. The American Civil War is ending. Over 600,000 dead. The Union survives, and President Lincoln is tired. But Lincoln has a plan. Heal the nation. No revenge, just malice toward none, charity for all. Not everyone agrees. In the South, resentment lingers. And in the North, some think Lincoln is too soft. One man, John Wilkes Booth, a Southern actor with big ideas and darker intentions, decides Lincoln must go. April 14th, Good Friday. Lincoln goes to the theater. Booth knows the building better than anyone. At 10:15 p.m., the shot is fired. Lincoln slumps. The war hero silenced. Lincoln dies the next morning, the first U.S. president ever assassinated. The country stops breathing, but history doesn't pause. Andrew Johnson becomes president, and Lincoln's careful plan for healing ignored. Reconstruction becomes better and chaotic. Southern states impose black codes. Northern leaders push harsher laws. Lincoln wanted unity. What came was division, violence, and decades of mistrust, all from one shot in a quiet theater. November 22, 1963, Dallas, Texas. President John F. Kennedy rides in an open-top car. The sun is bright, the crowds are smiling. Just after 12:30 p.m., 3 shots ring out. Panic, screams, and then silence. The assassin is Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine, a defector, a drifter, a man with no clear reason. 2 days later, Oswald is shot on live television by nightclub owner Jack Ruby. Just like that, the answers die and the questions begin. What really happened in Dallas? Was it the Soviets? The CIA? A mob hit? A military coup? Or just a lonely gunman? The Warren Commission says, lone shooter, case closed. But Americans don't buy it. Not really. Not even decades later. Kennedy's death didn't just end a presidency, it launched the modern conspiracy age. A nation unsure of what to believe. A bright day in Dallas. One man, 3 shots, and the echo still hasn't stopped. It's October 31st, 1984. India awakes to the news. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi has been shot by her own bodyguards. She had been the face of India for nearly 2 decades, bold, determined, and deeply controversial. But months earlier, she had ordered a military assault on a sacred Sikh temple, Operation Blue Star. The operation left hundreds dead. Many Sikhs felt deeply betrayed, including some close to her. Her bodyguards, both Sikh, opened fire on her at point-blank range. Within hours, grief turned to rage. Rumors spread, mobs formed, thousands of Sikhs were attacked, homes burned, people pulled from trains. It wasn't just spontaneous. Many reports suggested it was organized, even encouraged. Over 3,000 Sikhs were killed across just a few days. The riots left a scar that still hasn't fully healed. Indira Gandhi's assassination didn't just end a political era, it ignited the worst communal violence India had seen since partition. Her son, Rajiv Gandhi, took office and famously said, "When a big tree falls, the earth shakes." That one sentence became a symbol of silence, denial, and complicity. To this day, many await justice. Investigations stalled, witnesses disappeared. But people remember, especially those who lost everything. The assassination of Indira Gandhi was meant to be the end of her story. Instead, it lit a fire that spread across a nation and still smolders today. History remembers the assassin's act, but often forgets the chaos that followed. Before he was Malcolm X, he was Malcolm Little, a kid from Omaha, Nebraska, and his story would challenge not just a country, but a movement. After a troubled youth and prison sentence, Malcolm joined the Nation of Islam, a group that offered pride, purpose, and a very different message. While Martin Luther King Jr. preached nonviolence and integration, Malcolm X spoke of self-defense, black pride, and separation. To some, Malcolm was dangerous. To others, he was the truth, finally spoken out loud. His words were sharp, his speeches electrifying. He spoke about colonialism, racism, and identity. But he grew distant from the Nation of Islam. He questioned its leadership and broke away. He made a pilgrimage to Mecca and came back changed. Now his message was shifting. He began to speak not just for African Americans, but against oppression everywhere. But that shift came at a cost. Old allies became enemies. Threats followed. On February 21, 1965, Malcolm X was shot during a speech in New York. He was only 39. His assassination stunned the world, but especially the movement. One of its strongest voices silenced. To some, Malcolm X was a divider. To others, a prophet. The civil rights movement didn't end, but it was no longer unified. 2 roads now ran in parallel. Even today, people still ask, which path was right? Which voice spoke truer? But perhaps the truth is this: both voices were needed, and Malcolm's still echoes. But 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was more than a civil rights leader. He was a symbol of peace, progress, and unfinished dreams. But on April 4th at 6:01 p.m., that symbol was shattered. A gunshot rang out on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. King fell, just 39 years old, killed by a single bullet in Memphis, Tennessee. The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, the nation erupted. More than 100 cities saw riots. Fires burned, windows shattered, the grief was explosive. In Washington, D.C., 13 people died. Entire neighborhoods turned to ash. In Chicago, 10,000 police officers were deployed. Martial law declared in some areas. The anger was not just about King's death, it was decades of pain, poverty, injustice, broken promises. King had preached nonviolence, but his death felt like the system killing hope itself. Meanwhile, his killer, James Earl Ray, fled the country. He wouldn't be captured for 2 months. When he was caught, questions remained. Was it really just one man, or something larger? King was under FBI watch for years. Some believed they wanted him gone. After King's death, the movement fractured. Some marched peacefully, others no longer believed in peace. The government responded with troops. Over 75,000 soldiers were deployed in U.S. cities. For some, it was the end of innocence. The dream had died with the dreamer. But the story didn't end in fire. Just a year later, King's birthday became a national holiday. His words lived on, etched in stone, echoed in marches, whispered in classrooms. His assassination was a wound, but it also became a warning that progress must be protected. And each year, as we honor him, we remember the cost of silence and the price of change. One bullet sparked a fire, but the light it left behind still burns.